This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. It is Tuesday, November the 14th, the year of our Lord 2017. You got a belly up to the bar, we've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. I'm getting some interference back here, and I'm going to have to figure out what the hell that is. There's a video playing in the background, you son of a bitch, and I'm going to find you. In the meantime, Kelly is going to be your bartendress again tonight. She pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is in fact lighted to my left, your right, if you happen to be watching on the SHR Media YouTube channel, if you happen to be watching live on the SHR Media Facebook page. Two ways to watch the show live, and you can also go to shrmedia.com, click live or on air, and there we go. You can have a chat room, you can get into the chat room, you can interact with myself and a host of others. I mean literally a host of others. We don't watch our drinks, just like we don't watch our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle. Don't forget to tip your waitress. All right, now when I do this show, I have all these tabs lined up, and I think I found the guilty party. Yep, I found the guilty party. Now they're quiet. Thank you very much. Wow. Okay, tonight I have to admit up front that we were going to have two guests. We were going to have the return of Dan Butcher, and we are, in fact, going to still have the lovely and ebullient Dave Milner of The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And who isn't? I mean, yes, he is blind. B, he is rather pleasant. Okay, you little son of a bitch, I found you.
Late September, amid revelations that Price took repeated trips on government and private jets that cost taxpayers
Let's kill you. There we go. You are now officially killed. That's thehill.com, as a matter of fact, that wants to be evidently as intrusive as possible. Wow. Anyway, what I was going to say is that we had Dan Butcher scheduled tonight, and unfortunately Dan can't be with us. He's not feeling all that well. We are, in fact, going to have Dave Milner coming in, the Unpleasant Blind Guy. He's going to be here right around 8:30 or 8:45. Now, I invited him at 8:45 thinking that we were going to be talking to Dan, And so, Dave, if you happen to be listening, you want to call in after the break at 8:30, you are more than welcome to do so. Because tonight is my response to a promise to Dave Milner. And I said, Dave, I was trying to build the promo packages for the SHR Media that we give out to everybody on SHR Media. And I said, Dave, because that's his name, Dave, if you give me a promo and ship it over to my email, which incidentally is bz@shrmedia.com if you want to contact me, then I will make sure that you get on the show if you want to talk about what your newest show, it's a big show, multi-part show, was entitled The Way Back. Now, I have specifically not listened to this show, to his show, entitled The Way Back, because I want to hear it from a fresh set of ears. I do not want to have heard it before, so I want to hear what Dave is going to say first so that I can react to it as if literally I haven't heard it before, because, of course, I have not heard it before. So Dave Milner is going to be here tonight, and there's a ton, OMG, a ton of buttery political goodness for us all tonight. But first, this little interesting tidbit, which I customarily start out with, sometimes, not all the time, called...
It's time for happy stories and good times.
So what are the happy stories today? Because it doesn't seem as though these days there's much happiness going on in the world. Certainly on many personal levels, yes, but if you go to almost damn any website, any news website, any political aggregator, anything to do with politics, anything to do with the world, we've got, my God, we've got Marburg, the Black Plague, coming back in Madagascar, in certain parts adjacent Africa. The flu, just the flu, in the early 1900s, killed literally millions of people. Just the flu. So that's one little lovely thing that we have to worry about. Because in today's world, if a bug gets out, and by the way, there is happiness. There is no treatment for this thing, and people essentially expire in 24 hours. So think of your worst 24-hour death that you've seen on television, or perhaps at any damn movie about Ebola. Marburg is, I've heard two things, that it's Marburg, which is every bit as reprehensible as Ebola, or it's the Black Plague come back again that's not responding to a damn thing. Antibiotics, whatever it is, not working. So starting out with glee and happiness in the show, well, let's actually go to happiness just for a bit. Here's an article from the UK Daily Mail. Says the friendliest cities in the world revealed. The happiest and safest destinations have been ranked. So,
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
I have to ask you, because the article asks, where did your hometown stack up? Now, you have to consider this very important fact. This is an article that is penned by the UK, and that should give you a little bit of a clue. Oh, and it's released by holiday website Travelbird. So if you jump on Travelbird all the time, you already know this. The world cities have been ranked according to happiness and friendliness. Unexpected destinations topped categories such as Paris for welcoming tourists. Really? I wonder how long that will go. Sydney and Melbourne were the only Australian locations to make it onto the list. Both Aussie cities did well with happiness, but poorly for safety and tourism. So let's cut right to the chase, because you know that there are probably at least, let's say if it's the top 15, then my guess would be that there's at least top 15, let's say there's going to be at least 3 or 4 American cities in there for the friendliest, the happiest, so to speak. So, number 1, Oslo, Norway. Number 2, Copenhagen, Denmark. 3, Reykjavik, Iceland. 4, Geneva, Switzerland. Are you starting to see a pattern here? That's why I predicated this list. Number 5, Bern, Switzerland. Number 6, Zurich, Switzerland. Number 7, Helsinki, Finland. Number 8, Rotterdam, Netherlands. Number 9, Amsterdam, Netherlands. Number 10, Toronto, Canada. Number 11, Auckland, New Zealand. Number 12, Melbourne, Australia. Well, wait, I'm at number 12. We've only got 3 more left. You know Chicago's got to be in there somewhere, right? Okay. Number 13, not Chicago. Stockholm, Sweden. Number 14, we only got 2 left. 2 left. Number 14, Gothenburg, Sweden. Oh, my God, 1 left. Is it Chicago? Number 15, Sydney, Australia. Damn it, Jim. I hate that when that happens. The next score, wait. Yeah, if we got the happiest, then we have to have the unhappiest cities. According to Travelbird, which is in Europe, hey, that company wouldn't be, say, anywhere near Switzerland or Denmark or the Netherlands. No, move on. Hey, the cities with the unhappiest locals were found to be, now, Chicago? Well, no, damn you for even thinking that. The unhappiest city is Kiev in Ukraine. The next one, you would never guess this, not in a million years. Phnom Penh in Vietnam. And the third, again, I'm just going to tell you would never guess this one. Anyway, New Delhi in India. Okay, the next category that they had, each city was ranked for safety. Now, that's from UN data, which we know is absolutely 100% sterling and correct. Everything the UN says is right, and you're all wrong. Safety. Sourced from the United Nations data, which investigated the perception of security and how safe people feel. How they feel. Did you see the air quotes? If you're watching, that's why you watch live. Feel. Air quotes. An unexpected winner of this department was the UAE city of Abu Dhabi with a perfect score. Wow. While Melbourne in Australia was at 49th place and Sydney was at 58th, likely because of the threat of terror attacks and past incidents. So, happy times, right? Of course. Not so much. I can't continue without mentioning this. I have weighed in on this. Let's see, what is today? Tuesday, the 14th of November, the year of our Lord, 2017. I spoke on the Ken McClinton show last night about this, and people had asked me to write something about it, and there's just so much going on the air and off the air that I have not specifically written anything about it, but I did go into it last night on Ken McClinton's show on the Exceptional Conservative Network, TECN. And essentially what I said was this regarding Judge Roy Moore. He's already been hanged in public. Guilty or not, he's already been hanged in public. What disturbs me about this is that he's already been hanged in public. Here's an article. It says, Republicans seek to derail Roy Moore and salvage Senate seat. Republicans salvage Senate seat. How are they going to salvage the Senate seat? How is that going to happen? Republicans seeking to head off the first Senate Democrat victory in Alabama in decades are grasping for ways to derail their nominee, Roy Moore, whose campaign has been engulfed by allegations of sexual misconduct. President Donald Trump spoke on the phone from Vietnam with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and discussed how to manage the crisis. The senator said Mr. McConnell, who has been spearheading the effort to block Mr. Moore, said Tuesday he wants Attorney General Sessions to return to his home state to reclaim the seat. Well, now isn't that interesting? That means it's another if-then equation. If, as Trump is thinking, McConnell decides, McConnell is postulating, if Sessions decides that he's going to leave the AG office and go back to the Senate seat, number one, lawfully, is that possible? I do not know the answer to that. And then number two, would this not then perhaps be a wondrous, in my opinion, opportunity to put someone less limp-wristed-ish, that's a word, look it up, in the AG office? Because I think Sessions has been proven time and time again.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Again, to be abso-fucking-lutely spineless. I don't believe that he should have recused himself from the very beginning. He did. I don't think he has much strength. Now, he's done some interesting things as AG. So it's not like he hasn't been totally at work. But his hesitation to pull the big red handle on the Democrats when they wouldn't give a fucking second's hesitation if the roles were reversed is of massive, great concern to me. Now, let's back it up. Let's back up that car wash for a second, because we know that Moore ran against a guy named, what's his name? Stark, something like that. Some guy that's about 6'7". He's a damn gaunt-looking guy. And Moore is quantified as the anti-establishment GOP guy. So Moore won as the anti-establishment GOP guy. Moore brings baggage with him with regard to his judgeship and his decision about the Ten Commandments in the court, where basically he said that he wasn't going to obey an order to remove the Ten Commandments, and he didn't. So in Alabama, people think of him as a bit of a cowboy. But then even before additional allegations came up, there's an article from True Pundit saying Alabama Judge Roy Moore says McConnell is trying to steal the election by letting Democrats vote in the Republican primary. And you might be thinking to yourself about this time, self, what the hell? In an exclusive interview with the Daily Caller, Alabama's famous Ten Commandments judge Roy Moore reveals shocking new developments from his campaign for U.S. Senate. The frontrunner in Alabama's U.S. Senate race with 39% of the vote. Moore alleges that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is trying to steal the election by letting Democrats vote in Alabama's Republican primary. Well, I have to say that's something I have not heard before. Well, that's exactly what their strategy is, he says. That's what they're talking about. I wish the people of Alabama knew that. I wish the people of Alabama knew that McConnell and them were using the Democrats to come into the Republican primary. Patterned purportedly after Mississippi Republican Senator Tad Cochran's scheme, a Republican race can be decided by Democrats in open primary states like Alabama. Very interesting point. Now, that considered, there was another article about, late September, before a lot of this crap came up. And it says, Roy Moore disrupts U.S. Senate race in Alabama and prepares for new level of defiance in Washington. Now, at this point, don't you think all the hair on the back of the GOP establishhacks, having read that, went up damn near vertically? And they thought to themselves, I think it's time we did something about this guy because it looks like he's on the order of Trump. And we've already got too much crap in the swamp in D.C. Don't you think it's time to do something about this guy? Roll with me. I'm going somewhere. Now, what do we know about the GOP establishhacks? Like McCain, like Lindsey Graham, et al., way too many, is they don't want anything disturbing their free goodies and their big power. One of the reasons, of course, that they're not even remotely interested in amnesty, one of the reasons that they haven't decided that they're going to kill Obamacare, much less replace it, they couldn't even get together to say that they agreed that they're going to repeal Obamacare, even though that's what they rallied for. That's what people voted them in for. That was their campaign promise, amongst others. And they couldn't even unify about repealing Obamacare. Let's see. Major promise one, gone. Then there was the wall. They decided they weren't going to unify at all around the wall. Let's see. Promise number 2, gone. Do you tend to see a little bit of a pattern here? Now, these are the things, of course. Oh, and tax repeal. That the idea was to be able to fill out your taxes on a 3x5 card. You made X number of dollars. You paid 10, whatever it is in taxes. Send it in. They can't agree on that. There isn't much of anything that they can agree on. And who are the cats in the toilet? It's the establish-hack GOPers, like John McCain. And like the opposite person, again, I think his name is Stark, but don't quote me, begins with an S, against Judge Roy Moore. So, having been bludgeoned to fucking death over the past 8 years and finally realizing that what part of government these days, now, and the American media maggots, is particularly trustworthy? Because we have scandal after scandal after scandal, lie after lie after lie. And so when women come forth, I know what you're thinking. Let me say my piece. When women come forth and people say they should automatically be believed, these are accusations from 38 years ago. And as I said on Ken's show last night, what was the waiting all about? If you wanted to pound Judge Moore, you had your opportunity a couple of years ago when he was under extreme fire about the Ten Commandments. And he was vulnerable. Why didn't his ass get pounded back then? It was certainly eminently poundable, was it not? And the answer is, yes, it was. So when you have a number of people that are making allegations now, because I've had it bludgeoned into my skull, that we know there's a lot of crap out there that people allege that isn't true. And I have an example from just this past week that turned out to be bullshit. So when all the bells and klaxons and my spidey sense starts tingling about Judge Roy Moore, I'd say initially it's justified. And people are saying, oh my God, you must believe women, accusations. Okay, so where were the beliefs in the 90s about Bill Clinton? In the 80s when Clinton was governor? Paula Jones, Juanita Broderick. Allegations not just of touching, fondling, kissing. Allegations of outright physical assault and rape. Where were the American media maggots then? Where were the leftists then? And the Hillary Clinton stand by your man phrase, where were the feminists back then? Now, that said, then it's time to say this, and then I'm going to provide you the recent example of specious bullshit. But I say it predicated upon the fact that another if-then equation. If these allegations are true, then Judge Moore needs to be subject to civil suits, and if applicable, and I kind of doubt it because of the statute of limitations, although I have to say I do not know what the statute of limitations are in Alabama. If all of these things occurred actually in Alabama, my guess would be that the statute of limitations has expired, because my guess would be that these are felonies. I haven't heard any allegations of rape, but at the minimum, if these things are true, he has massive exposure in not one, but apparently any number of lawsuits, tort law, civil cases against him personally. And or for that matter, anybody else that might happen to be aligned or implicated in whatever cases are involved with Judge Moore. If these are true, then Judge Moore should be held to answer. I have no personal stake in Judge Moore. He's not a personal friend, and I haven't really visited Alabama and don't really have much connection, if any at all, to Alabama. Actually, I've never even been there. So if whatever consequences, if these things are true, fall on whatever happens to Judge Moore because of this, he's on his damn own. He's an adult. But as with any accusation, let's let it play out. Let's see where it goes. And all the leftists are going, j'accuse? Is it... Where am I wrong to suspect, initially, the timing makes the hair stand up on my head? Why 38 or almost 40 years later, when they had the opportunity to sink his ship earlier, do they decide that now's the time to sink his ship here, when he's about to become a senator for Alabama? And the other thing is what I term specious bullshit. Do you remember about a week or two ago when the Air Force Academy said there will be no racist goings-on at the Air Force Academy? And then there's this article from Fox News, and the headline is, "What the Air Force Academy hate crime hoax teaches us about the mainstream media and race." And I would submit Not just race, but any other thing where allegations occur. Any other event or series of events. After 5 black students reported racial slurs posted outside their dormitory rooms at the Air Force Academy in Colorado in September, the media went crazy. Unfortunately, a few racist remarks can command huge amounts of media attention for days. Thankfully, the more important news story that developed from the incident was Air Force Academy Superintendent Lieutenant General Jay Silvera's powerful speech. I heard it. He was pissed. That he gave to all 4,000 cadets at the academy, denouncing racism, saying it would not be tolerated at the academy. If you can't treat someone with dignity and respect, he said, get out. Agreed. That speech went viral. And it was viewed on YouTube, I think it was over 1 million times. And rightfully so. Now, a twist. It turns out that one of the supposed victims of the racist slur is actually the perpetrator. The Air Force Academy said in a written statement this past Tuesday, last week, we can confirm that one of the candidate cadets who was allegedly targeted by racist remarks written outside of their dorm room was actually responsible for the act itself. The Academy also said the students who wrote the racist slurs is no longer enrolled at the school. The Air Force Academy hoax isn't the only one. It's not an isolated incident. It belongs to a string of hate crime hoaxes reported all throughout the United States. So, am I a supporter of Judge Roy Moore? And the answer is no. But where is due process? Due process is left hanging. And as far as I'm concerned, right or wrong, love me, hate me, excoriate me, whatever, everybody deserves due process. And via due process, if Judge Moore is found guilty of these things, take him to court if that's applicable, and lay suit after suit against him if that's applicable. But you wonder, ladies and gentlemen, in America, why it is that folks are leery of things like this when the timing absolutely screams of politics to me. I wonder. And as far as I'm concerned, I can't help but wonder. Folks, please come back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times. This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Or dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying cow for the stupid promo.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
The bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to articles near you. Excelsior.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. You're listening to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. It is Tuesday, the year of our Lord, November 14th. 2017, and I be the bloviating Zeppelin and shit. Hey, we have someone calling in, and I suspect it very well might be Dave Milner. First, let's see if we have any kind of halfway decent phone connection. Dave, are you there, sir? Yeah. Let me pot you up. Go ahead, try it again.
I am here.
Oh, there we go. Okay, actually, good. Nice level, good, outstanding. Folks, we're going to be talking to Dave Milner. And like I said at the beginning of the show, what I said was, not long ago, Dave, you tell me if I'm lying, if I'm a lying piece of crap. I was trying to assemble in Audacity a bunch of promos to put out to the people to play on SHR Media so that folks could promote their show. And I said, I'll tell you what, Dave, I'll make you a wager. I'll make you a little bet, and I won't Welsh. You make me a promo, and I'll make sure that you get on the show to talk about your series, The Way Back. And Dave said, I mean, it's like 35 seconds later I had a promo from Dave. And I said, okay, well, Dave, you got to be on the show then. It's as simple as that. So this is my way of making back to Dave because he was the first darn person to give me a promo back so that I could assemble and update a lot of the promos and stuff around here. By the way, I should tell everyone that I have made a new promo for the Sackheads at vast expense, and I have not disseminated it around yet, but I will. And I think Sackhead Sean actually likes it, and that's going to be going out in the not-too-terribly distant future, and a couple of promos for Jersey Joe and whatnot. And it would be silly and stupid of me if I did not recognize everyone in the chat room right now. Mike is in chat. Dave himself is in chat. Mary Brockman is in chat. Whiskey Dale is in chat, so welcome. Glad to see everybody here. All in the places with bright, shiny faces. So, Dave Milner, you didn't do just one show. You did a series of shows on the way back, did you not? It wasn't a one-time thing, was it?
Not at all. This is going to be a yearly deal, and it's going to take quite a bit of time because it's important. And I want to thank you for allowing me to come on the show and talk about it. I know that it was either that or you offered me a shiny fish out of the bucket, and I chose this instead. And really look forward to hearing that promo, by the way, that I did, because it also includes Jeff Mitchell of EDL Radio. So that will be very cool to hear, and really glad to hear that there's going to be a new Sackheads promo. So very happy about that. I wanted to get in and on as many shows as possible to talk about this, because I think it's important. There are there are kind of four aspects to this, and they can be kind of brief. What is it? What's the need for it? How do you do it? And the end of it is hope. And Mark, I think a lot of people, because I approached a lot of hosts about this, and I think a lot of hosts have hesitated to have me on to talk about this because they see the whole concept as defeatist. And I think that's because they don't understand it.
Okay, can I interrupt just for 1 second?
No. Yeah, go ahead, man. Yeah.
I have to tell you, and I admit it up front, and I said it at the very beginning of the show, I purposely have not listened to the way back, because when I decided that I was going to put you on the show, and I was early, I wanted to be able to respond to you freshly, right out of the box, as if I'd never heard it before, because in fact I've never heard it before. So to me, this will all be new. Sometimes you want to make sure that you read or listen to people before they come on and talk about things. I thought this was something where I did not want to hear your premise, and I wanted to be able to react naturally to whatever it is that you've got to say in terms of the way back. So I have to admit, I don't know the premise up front, and my ears are open, and I'm willing to listen and learn, and as I hope everybody is here. That's one of the major reasons, Dave, I wanted you on the show, because I want it to be fresh tonight. So for me, this is all new material. I just wanted to let you know that up front.
Well, that's fine, and it'll be a nice little experiment. The main thing is, what is it? That's how to start. And it's about preservation. You've heard of preppers, of course, people who...
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Who store a few years' worth of food, people who store, half an arsenal of guns, medical supplies, ammunition, things of that nature against possible hard times. And when Michelle Obama, this is what really triggered the entire series of ideas, which for me began in the 1970s.
Okay.
When Michelle Obama came out and said, we have to change our history, that made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. Having observed everything for as many years as I had up until now, I realized that go time was here, and that it was time for people to do two things. Number one, it was time for them to gather all of the founding documents, all of the histories of the United States, all of the things written down that frame who we are as a society, both secularly and spiritually, and do two things with all of those. Get two copies. Use one to teach the next generation with, because, of course, by 2013, that not teaching that sort of thing was well underway in the public schools. And number two, save a copy, preserve a copy, because I foresaw a time at that point where things like the Declaration of Independence, one of the most subversive documents ever in history, will not be taught, and will probably even be proscribed. So that, in essence, Mark, is what it is. It's a way to preserve American society no matter what happens. And let me emphasize something here. There were about 1,800 years between the end of the Roman Republic and the beginning of the American Republic. So if the worst happens, we have no idea how long it's going to be until another republic can rise. But we can hedge against possible generations of people living under, let's say, Islamo-fascist rule by educating down those years. And that means preserving today, and that means starting the education today. Bam, there you go. That's what it is.
Okay. Now, you've stated that that's what it is. I'm guessing that there are any number of components to it, the least of which is, okay, now shall we talk about, you've set the pattern for the reasoning, the background, the history. We know we're losing history, and we know that people are purposely not being taught the proper history. I speak frequently to the underground professor, and what he says is stare decisis is what is being taught in schools in terms of fundamental constitutional law. In other words, it's all about the cases, citing the individual cases, and it's nothing, absolutely nothing about the Constitution's history, why it was written, its background, the background of the people, the founding fathers, the reasons for writing it. All of that can go to hell. All they're concerned about is give me case law, give me tort law, the rest of it is immaterial. And I submit, immaterial. That's some of the most important aspects of it, if not the most important aspect of constitutional law. So
Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
So having said that, now I know what you're thinking. You've laid a bit of a path. There's a bit of an end goal. We know why you're saying these things. Now, the next question that comes to my fetid little knurled brain is, how do we go about implementation, and what does implementation look like?
All right. Well, you kind of skipped over the whole need thing by stating it yourself. I mean, you have right now.
Hit it then. Tell us about the need.
Well, the need should be obvious, and it's more obvious every year. All right. You already see people who are willing to take down Confederate statues for their own nutbag reasons. You have people in the UK. You can dig this up. In the UK, there is a university professor who wants to remove all of the Greek philosophers because they're white.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think that it's far off, quite honestly, given the atmosphere today, to Donald Trump's. I have a show. To Donald Trump's, some thinking ridiculous assertion that they might go after the Jefferson Memorial next or the Washington Monument. I mean, why not?
Well, they already have.
Take down.
They already have.
Yeah, if they can take down a statue of Robert E. Lee leading a slave to freedom in Fort Worth, Texas, these are just bigger monuments. And while they're taking that down, why not take down that Declaration of Independence and that Constitution thing that those white racists wrote? The changing of the history is going on now. I believe I've heard that a lot of times history is only being taught in schools past World War II. That's all that they're being taught. And you brought up a great point as to need, because yes, they're getting case law when they're talking about the Constitution. No one's being taught about, for instance, the Code of Hammurabi. Nobody's being taught about Magna Carta. Nobody's being taught about the rights of Englishmen. No one is being taught about the founding documents that inspired the founding documents. Nobody is being taught about the Anti-Federalist Papers. Nobody is being taught about, and I would honestly, I'm going to be truthful here, I would love to read this too, the minutes to the Constitutional Convention. They're available. They have to be awesome. No one's being taught that stuff now. So it's very easy when you don't teach those things anymore, and you begin teaching other things as if they're the only things that people should learn, to begin to have a dystopian Orwellian education system where you have people as leaders, very few at the top, and worker units, very many at the bottom. and for that situation to be perpetuated throughout time. That's the need. Now, I don't know if you want to respond to that, but if you do, I'll go ahead and go on to method.
The need is here, but the big problem is getting people to understand that there is a need. The first, this is an axiom throughout history, then, now, and in the future. Before you can repair a problem, you must first know and acknowledge that a problem exists. That said, how many leftists do you suspect these days, leftists, Democrats, and American media maggots, even perceive that there is a problem? That problem. They won't acknowledge that that's the problem. The problem is that these documents aren't changing for the times, that they are not fluid documents. Mm-hmm. And they must be required to change as literally morals and mores of our society change. And that's not the precept behind the foundational base behind these documents. The Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, the U.S. Constitution.
Mitch McConnell announced Tuesday that the Senate tax bill will include language to repeal
Okay, hang on one second. I've got another interfering stupid hill. Okay, I'm going to kill you right now. Goodbye.
Yay, pop-ups. All right.
Yeah, pop-ups can go to hell. That's all right. I've killed the whole thing. So in essence, no one is even interested in the foundational documents, and I was about to mention the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta is how it was that all of the foundational document creators got together and said, this is an interesting document, but I'll tell you what, I bet we can do better. That's one of the reasons that we left the UK, or Britain at the time. And looking at that, that was some of the concrete and brick upon which the U.S. Constitution was built. All unacknowledged by the left. So I don't believe they think there is a problem. The only problem is us, Dave. It's you, it's me, it's the people listening to the show right now, it's the people that are listening in chat and interacting in chat. We are the problem. They are not the problem. They are the solution.
Well, it's a manufactured problem. I mean, this is a great way. This is a great way of distracting people from the real problem if you want to negate the American Revolution, which is what the progressive left wants to do. If you want to do that, then you turn people's minds away from the actual loss of personal liberty and the loss of self-rule, and you turn their minds towards things like identity politics, which it's not, it has to be about me because I'm black, or it has to be about me because I'm Hispanic. It has to be about me because I'm a Muslim. And there should be the caliphate, and everyone should just love that. It has to be me because I'm a woman. They've balkanized the American people, and I have to say they've done a brilliant job of implementing the rules for radicals. They've done a brilliant job of doing it, because now you ask far too many people out there, and they'll say, what is the largest ongoing problem right now in the United States of America? And they'll say, racism. All right, that's going to be their main thing. But what I'm talking about is the preservation of self-rule for everyone throughout the times. And now, you talked about morals, and I want to touch on that a bit. There was a time before the dissolution of the Roman Republic when morals were fairly straight-laced back in ancient Rome. I mean, you know. Everybody in chat knows about the movies, Caligula and all that stuff with all the Roman orgies, blah, blah, blah. A lot of that stuff didn't begin until after the Republic was over. Okay, so this is not the first time you've had a group of leaders say, oh, hey, let's not worry about all that old let the people decide stuff. Let's change our laws and what we do and societal norms to fit just what we wanted. Just have fun. So this isn't our first rodeo as Western civilization. So it's good that you brought that up.
All right, we've seen a problem. We have essentially stated the precept behind the problem. We've established the need for some kind of response or reaction. And so the only thing I conclude is what is the response, the reaction, and or how do we implement or change things. And I'm sure that's the foundational reason for the three words, the way back.
Well, yeah, and I want to say, it was kind of funny. I don't know whose show you were on. I think it might have been Ken McClinton's. And you talked about how great it would be if we could go back to the moral standings that we had in about 1960, except without all the racism crap and all of that. And I said, well, yeah, okay, you just stated a big reason for the way back right there. Now, how do you do it? There are still plenty out there of history books. That's big. If you can find history books that have been written before 1970, those should be snatched up. And any kind of written documentation. Yes, the Magna Carta. Yes, the Declaration of Independence. Ken McClinton actually brought up a great point. He said the earliest declaration, the one that was written before it was revised and signed, that one. All right, all that stuff is available, and it's available in printed form, and you can get it on high-quality paper, and if you can't, then you can print it out on high-quality paper. Take that, and as I say, get 2 copies of everything. Take it all, and do what you will with one to teach the next generation. I know a lot of parents out there are having to deprogram their kids after they've been in the government indoctrination center for 8 hours, and then secrete the other copy. Let your kids know, at least the ones that you can trust, because sadly society is beginning to create children that we can no longer trust. Damned sad that is, but it's true. That's what government indoctrination does for you. But make sure that succeeding generations know where that is, in case they need to break into it and do some teaching of their own, and pass down the materials, the one copy of the materials you've been teaching with, to them so they can teach their kids, and so on and so on. Glenn Beck had a sort of a similar idea some time back, but he didn't completely expand on it and things like that. I call them freedom boxes or liberty boxes, things of that nature. He did talk about saving things in printed form. He did talk about writing things down in a journal and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. All right. People should do that as a part of it. I'll tell you this, Mark. And I think this is another reason why some hosts have hesitated to have me on, because I think this is a big Dave thing. Okay, that this is something to get Dave attention. I don't give a rat's furry ass if no one remembers who I am after I croak. I don't care. Okay, this is about preserving the country that I love. This is about preserving the concept of self-rule that I love. I don't care if it's said, yeah, this is Dave's idea, or that this originally came, was also sparked by an article by Kurt Schlichter. All right, I don't give a damn who gets credit for it, as long as it gets done. What do you think?
I would agree. When you leave, I'm going to go into something that, oddly enough, I did not know specifically that this was the direction that you were going to go for the show tonight. However, I set up something that I was going to do after you concluded, and we're going to talk about communism, freedom of speech, and various polls that are indicating that the current class of people don't believe in much of anything anymore, and they don't mind giving their rights away. The rights that, and they're all too willing to accept wholesale revisionist history. Just what you were mentioning. And here's the funny thing is, you just made me realize, I have a ton of books in my library. I'm not a digital guy. My wife is the digital goddess in the house. She has all of her books on Kindle, etc., through Amazon and all the other pages. I like books. They're heavy as fuck to move when you have to move, but when you just let them rest, guess what? Unless it's a nuclear bomb, they're going to survive me by quite some time. And you can't get rid of that stuff because it's immured on paper. One of the reasons, this is the tinfoil. This is the tinfoil hat wearer in me right now, Dave. I believe that in 50 years, perhaps even less, what's left of the United States or the world, that's a terrible thing to say in the first place, will come to rue the day that they ever decided that they were going to go digital, and will wish that they'd send some trained assassin back to shoot Admiral Grace Hopper in the head for creating COBOL.
You know what? I have to say, I have to interject, because it brings to mind a scene out of the original BBC Channel 4 special of Max Headroom. Blank Reg, which if you've never seen the show, Blank Reg runs a pirate TV station, and he's trading something off to a young lady for a piece of equipment that she brings him. And he hands her this book, and she says, "What is this?" And he says, "It's a book." And she looks at him like he's got three heads, and he looks her in the eye and he says, "A non-volatile storage medium. They're very rare. You should have one." And she tells him to stuff it and gives him the piece of gear and runs away. After he hands her a couple of videotapes, which that is kind of chucklesome for me, given the tech even today. But your point is correct. The printed book, the printed document, printed materials, printed pictures. Some time ago, and this goes to pictures also. By the way, I'm going to try and be brief about this. Some time ago, I heard a woman talking on a show about all of the great pictures that came out of the Civil War. And ever since digital pictures have come up, the number of pictures that we take that are actually printed out and you can put in a photo album has gone down to practically zero. We can document the 20th century very well in pictures. The 21st, hardly any. It's amazing. And this goes very briefly again to the EDL, because over in the UK, now the police are beginning at some of the demonstrations to tell people that they cannot bring what they call placards or, signs that have, their slogans on them and stuff like that. And that made me think, and you'll get this, Mark, immediately, that made me think of all of the iconic signs throughout history that you've seen printed out in newspapers and things like that. Sometimes 1,000 words can be written in one picture, and to have those slogans in those pictures is a silent, visual way of putting the message across. But the Crown Prosecution Service in the UK, understanding that, is beginning to ban those. There you are.
Okay, so final question before we go on to the break, because we're going to be here to the top of the hour break. And then when we come back, I have cool. Two more questions for you. And so the question is this: are they crafting this in terms of we must be as safe as we possibly can, so we remove the signs and we take weapons away from people, or is there a further aspect to this that you've seen that other people have not?
They say that the signs offend people, and they must not be carried because they worry that it will spark them to violence. Very interesting, because there are all kinds of police around there, and my response is, if someone seeing a sign is sparked to violence, then they should be arrested and jailed. There's your answer.
Okay, folks, we've been talking to Dave Milner, the unpleasant blind guy who isn't. I mean, he is blind, but he's not unpleasant. and we're going to be right back. We are going to take a little bit of a break here, and then we're going to come back right back. I have two final questions for Dave Milner, and I guess that he may want to go another place when we do come back. So, folks...
Oh, I can hang around.
Okay, we'll hang around. And Dave, folks, everybody in chat, thanks for listening. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, Tuesday, November 14th, the year of our Lord 2017, on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Yay.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads radio show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
This is Jersey Joe, host of the Reaver Common Sense, and you're listening to SHRmedia.com.
And you're listening to BZ, the Bloviating Zeppelin, on BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct from the SHR Media studios, where I am currently broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied Fornicalia, a mere roughly 2 miles from the dreaded belly of the beast, the Bill Mill, the capital of leftist Central on the left coast itself, the dreaded state capital in Sacramento. Folks, we've been listening to Dave Milner, who is the unpleasant blind guy who isn't. You'll understand that if you listen to the whole damn show. And we were talking about his show, The Way Back, and what he has said needs to be done. One of the questions I had for you then, Dave, is, okay, you've stated one of the things that we need to do is archive our history. So if I'm interpreting that correctly, is that one of the major things that you suggested doing? Archiving and keeping our history.
Yes, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all of it with as little spin as possible. All right. And let's take President Andrew Jackson, for instance. Now, people can correct me if I'm wrong here, but during his administration that was the one time in our history, ever before or since, that we had zero national debt. We owed no one anything as a nation. However, there are the other aspects to President Andrew Jackson, as we know. Some Indians will not handle a $5 bill, what is that? The 20 that he's on, I think.
Right, the 20.
The 20. Some Indians will not handle it because when it came to American Indians, Jackson was friggin' evil. Okay, there are good aspects to this president and horrible aspects to this president. He's a great example of American history because, and I think we should preserve all of that, because it lends honesty to us as a nation. And the good parts of that history, in my opinion, outweigh the bad. And that is what has to be taught. Because the generations down the road, Mark, are going to have to know the results. What happens when you create a republic where educated people, and that's everyone, get together and elect representatives to represent them in government?
Well, the first thing that any kind of a thinking human being, let's say 30 years down the way, would ask if this goes through is, I've been doing some research on my own where I can find it. Where's all the history? What has happened to our history? Why can I find nothing on the 1700s? Why can I find nothing on the 1800s? Some people are going to have actual questions about that.
Yes.
Someone somewhere eventually will do that. Okay, so the first thing you recommend is archiving and essentially being keepers of our very own history. It may not be the responsibility of the National Archives, because who knows what's going to happen to that, but we are becoming our own personal keepers of the historical flame for the creation of the United States. That's one aspect. The second question I have then is, that's one aspect. Are there any others? Any other things that we can do to keep the train on this track? Well, that actually leads to a third question, but at least for right now, what else can we do?
Well, of course, there is still, aside from saving printed material, there is still the use of digital material. You can still preserve some of that, although I prefer that it be preserved on DVDs or things like that instead of on anything that is volatile. I think that's true as well. And again, it's all about education. It's all about educating the kids. One of the greatest scenes in books ever is at the end of Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury.
Right.
This is a book everybody should read. It's not a very long book, okay, and it does have some kind of Baroque language, but it is very telling, especially about today, because in this book, they do have firemen, but the firemen don't come to your house to put fires out. They come to your house to burn books. And at the end of this, the one fireman that decides to, as the Brits used to say, kick over the traces and go out on his own, meets up with people who have memorized portions of history and things like that. One man comes up to him and shakes his hand and says, "Hello, I'm Richard III." Another man shakes his hand and says, "I'm the Book of Ecclesiastes." Another man shakes his hand and says, "I'm Article 4 of the Constitution of the United States." People may have to learn this stuff by rote and be taught why these things are important. It may come down to that, but education in this vein is extremely important, teaching the young, because if the worst happens, all right, and these materials do become proscribed, then that education is going to become very, very vastly needed. And I can tell you that there are people already who want to just throw all of that stuff away. They want They want to make the bad memories go away. They want to make bad speak go away so that we can have good speak and happy speak.
Okay.
Which is newspeak.
Yes, it is. Let me throw this out there, too. I've recommended, matter of fact, I bought copies of this book for Sackheads Clint and Sackheads Sean last Christmas. I gave them copies of 1984 because if there's one thing that Eric Arthur Blair was in 1943, I believe, 48, is prescient. Even back then in the UK, he could see what was occurring. Well, what am I talking about? I'm talking about George Orwell's book, 1984. If you open a copy of that today, you will go to yourself. You will say to yourself, "This book is clearly a mind fuck. Get out of my head. This shit is happening right now."
Yeah.
And so I would highly recommend if you guys have not read 1984, don't get a digital copy. Get an actual, go to the library or go to the bookstore, order it online. Get an actual printed copy of 1984, read it, and it will scare the pants off of you. And then when you walk around pantsless, then send me a photograph of that as well.
Well, I don't need one of those, but that is another aspect of it. Not only should we save and teach how we got to creating a republic for the self-rule of the people, but we'll also have to find ways of teaching what went wrong. Why in some future that we can't even see, why is it that these people are living under totalitarianism or Islamofascism? What happened, Daddy? How did we get here? Well, that's one way of teaching them is through story, and yes, I recommend that highly. But yes, as I said, method, very important. The method is just teach and preserve, and I know it can be a bit daunting, especially finding the history books. But it's not impossible. Not yet. But the window is closing as each year passes, and that's why, as long as I'm able, I'm going to run the Wayback series because to me this is important. This may be the one thing that I've done for my country that I can be proud of after I croak. All right, and I'm going to keep on doing it. I'm going to keep on running it, and hopefully other hosts will pick this up and have me on and talk about it, and I can get the word spread out there because the need is there, and the hope is there too, Mark. Yeah.
Folks, one final question for Dave Milner. We've been talking to Dave Milner, the unpleasant blind guy, about his series The Way Back and how it responds and relates to the United States of America. I have a final question and then a comment. And the final question is this to you, Dave. Can we persevere? Can we win?
Well, all right. That's the last part of the whole thing. It's called hope. And the answer to that question is absolutely. I mean, and here's the reason. Even if you're not a Christian and you don't believe that by reading the end of the book that we win, even if you're completely secular in your thinking, there is something about personal liberty. There is something about everything that's laid down in the Bill of Rights. There is something about tasting that freedom of people being able to form government from the individual up instead of government from a ruling class down. There's something about that is sweet, and people love that taste of freedom. And that's always going to be there. Whatever happens in the future, even if God help us, even if the United States of America were to collapse as a country and become the United States of America in name only, that will still be there. There will still be people, even if it winds up being whispers in homes and in bars and things like that. Remember, it used to be this way. And that frightens the one-worlders, the go-along-to-get-along crowd, the Islamofascists, all of them to death because the Pandora's box of self-rule has been opened, and we're not going to lose that. We will not lose it, and doing what I suggest with the way back just means that we will win it back. It may take blood, it may take sacrifice, but we'll win it back eventually if we lose it. And following my suggestions about in the way back are a great way to possibly save a generation or two from having to live in that darkness.
Okay, three comments. Number one, thank you for taking the time for coming on and talking to us about this. The second comment is I would recommend two books to you, which are, again, frighteningly prescient. He's a bit of a neophyte author, but you get his point exactly. People read Kurt Schlichter because of his articles. Kurt Schlichter has written two books of fiction, both of which I purchased, about a coming United States of America. The first one is called People's Republic. Buy it. The second is called Indian Country. Buy it. Because it gives a foreshadowing of what could be the future of the United States of America. Now, that having been said, I have to thank you, Dave Milner, for your time. I'm going to transition to another topic. I would keep you on because I can't do that now because the phone system that we have won't allow you to hear things that I'm going to play because I've got some audio coming up here. But the reason I say that is because I would recommend that you continue to listen because the things that you were just talking about lead up directly to the next points that I'm going to discuss for basically the next 45 minutes or so. So I would recommend that you hang on. And with that, Dave, I have to say thank you. Thank you ever so much for coming back on. You'll have to come on again. We can perhaps talk about some EDL stuff. And
love to.
In any event, folks, you have been listening to Dave Milner. He is the unpleasant blind guy, who actually isn't. He's actually rather quite pleasant. So, Dave, where can folks find you, read you, and hear you?
All right. I'm, of course, available at the Unpleasant Blind Guy page so on Spreaker. And on YouTube, I have my own Unpleasant Blind Guy page, and I'm also available through the SHR Media page there on YouTube. I also panel on Jeff Mitchell's English Defense League radio program, which is currently on live at 3:30 p.m. on Thursdays and Sundays, and we're hoping to expand that out so that through another agency, so that we can get it into drive time out in the UK. But for right now, it's just Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3:30 p.m. And I encourage everyone to listen to all of those. I'm Dave Milner on Facebook, Connect with Liberty and the Tea Party Community. And I'm Agador on Gab and UBG Contact on the Twitter. And I want to thank you for allowing me the time. Mark, you're one of the few hosts that has done so. I hope there will be more. I appreciate it very much. And to everyone, I want to say we are going to win this. God bless. Good luck. No surrender.
Folks, we've been listening to Dave Milner, who's the unpleasant blind guy. You just heard where it is that you can hear him. And that leads me to something that I was just talking about recently, and that Dave happened to hit as well. And that's the issue of where we're going as the nation. Right here. Where are we going? Where have we been? Where do we want to go? These are all questions that absolutely have to be answered. There's an interesting point, and I found something very interesting. I spoke originally about Jeff Sessions earlier at the beginning of the show, and I said that I had some very serious doubts about Jeff Sessions. And then there was an article that said that it may occur insofar as McConnell and the GOP have a strategy, a way around Roy Moore, if you will, and that involves the outright recusal of Jeff Sessions from the Attorney General spot and then going back to his Senate seat in Alabama, that Roy Moore would or may not occupy, depending upon the results of the vote. That's a bit Machiavellian to me. That may or may not occur. I have no idea, quite frankly, about the lawfulness of something like that. But it made me think and postulate again at the beginning of the show about where is the GOP going? Where are we going? And as conservatives? Finally, though, it would appear that Jeff Sessions is open to doing something about Hillary Clinton. And he's opened up himself to, but unfortunately, after great duress, which that should not have had to occur, it's finally an idea that he's considering. It's an idea whose time is more than past. It is long past due. So here's an article, and I believe that this was the fulcrum, the big rock and the bar by which Jeff Sessions may have been convinced to do something about Hillary Clinton, Uranium One, the Russian dossier, et al., James Comey, lump them all in because it's all the Russian dossier, because it is all inexorably interconnected and linked. And it all stinks. So, House of Representatives, Jim Jordan and Matthew Gaetz wrote a letter essentially to the Attorney General himself, Jeff Sessions. And this came out as an article in Fox News. The headline was, Representatives Jordan and Gaetz, special counsel needed as questions mount on Clinton, Comey, Russian dossier, and more. And they're addressing this directly to Jeff Sessions himself. Mr. Attorney General, it's time to do your job. Why in 2016 did FBI Director James Comey call the Clinton investigation a matter, not an investigation? After all, Mr. Comey wasn't director of the FBI Bureau of Matters. Why in 2016 did FBI Director Comey begin drafting an exoneration letter for Secretary Clinton, whom he called grossly negligent, in an early draft of the letter before completing the investigation, before interviewing several witnesses, and before interviewing Secretary of State Hillary Clinton? Why in 2016 did James Comey and the Justice Department give Cheryl Mills, Secretary Clinton's chief of staff, an immunity agreement for turning over her laptop computer? Typically, the department would issue a subpoena or get a warrant and seize it. Why in this case did the FBI agree to destroy the laptop? Now stop for a second. These are politicians who are positing logical questions. And up until these guys, where have you heard the GOP weigh in on any of this stuff? This is why so many of us are coming to despise the GOP. Where is Captain Obvious in the world of the Republicans? Why does it take just these two guys just now to pen essentially a letter to Jeff Sessions and say, we have a need and it must be filled and we must do something about this now? Why hasn't Mitch McConnell been on top of this? Why hasn't Paul Ryan been on top of this day and night? There are all sorts of topics that these two gentlemen representing the GOP allegedly should be on top of day and night. And so it's a couple of representatives, not senators, but little winky representatives that are bringing this to the attention of folks right now. Why in the days following the meeting, and when emailing with the public relations staff at the Justice Department, did Loretta Lynch use the pseudonym Elizabeth Carlisle? If your conversation with the former president was only about golf and grandchildren, why not use your real name? Why was the decision on whether to charge Secretary Clinton made by FBI Director Comey and not the Attorney General? The answer to that, obviously, is because Loretta Lynch at the time had already said that she doesn't want to take the spear through the heart for that. She would just as soon James Comey make that decision, despite the fact that can let's say a detective in a bureau, in the robbery bureau, decide arbitrarily, call the DA of a local county and go, hello, DA, here's what's going to happen. You're going to prosecute this case. And I'm not really going to tell you all the facts that are involved in this. I'm just going to tell you right now, you're going to prosecute this case. And the DA on the other end of the phone says, well, okay. That's not how it works. The FBI itself lines up stuff and gathers evidence, puts it together in a package, and then ships it over to the Attorney General. But the Attorney General herself was more than willing politically to take a hands-off on that because she knew it was volatile, terribly volatile. And so she was more than willing to let James Comey make that decision, a political decision, period, end of statement. Why did James Comey publicize the Clinton investigation? Because, having worked for the FBI customarily keeps its investigations abso-fucking-lutely quiet. You have no need to know what they're working on, and you have no need to know where they are in their investigation. Why in 2016 did the FBI pay cash for the Russian dossier? It's been reported that in addition to the Clinton campaign and the Democrats' National Committee paying Fusion GPS for the dossier, the FBI also reimbursed Christopher Steele, author of the dossier. Why was Fusion GPS co-founder Glenn Simpson meeting with Russian lawyer Natalia Vereskaya both before and after her meeting with Donald Trump Jr.? Why is the FBI so reluctant to tell Congress and the American people if the dossier was the basis for a FISA court order permitting the government to spy on Americans associated with Donald Trump's campaign? If the dossier was a legitimate intelligence document relied on by the court, then why not just tell the country? He's done it before. Why on January 6, 2017, did James Comey brief President-elect Donald Trump on the dossier? Again, if the dossier was a legitimate intelligence document, why wait 2 months after the election to inform the president-elect? All necessary questions, all of them, posed by these two guys, nobody else in the GOP. Well, one reason is because McCain, for example, John McCain, was already involved in attempting nakedly, abjectly, to get dirt on Donald Trump because he didn't like him and he could not control him. Donald Trump could not be controlled. McCain was every bit as involved in this as anyone else. And I posted about that last year when a lot of other people didn't say, they didn't want to talk about that. I'd already exposed that in my blog. Why did the Obama administration leak to CNN that Mr. Comey had briefed President-elect Trump on the dossier? Why was the leak occurring? Several media outlets had the dossier prior to the briefing, yet no one would print it because most of the document could not be substantiated. In his congressional testimony, Mr. Comey himself called the dossier salacious and unverified, as pointed out in The Federalist. Did the fact that the FBI director had briefed the president-elect on the dossier give it the legitimacy that the press needed to go ahead and print something they knew was not accurate? BuzzFeed, thank you. Why did the intelligence community in the community, in the final months of the Obama administration unmask names at an unprecedented and record rate? Why, after Mr. Comey was fired on May 9th of 2017, was it so critical for a special counsel to be named to examine possible Trump-Russia collusion? So critical that James Comey leaked a government document himself about his conversations with President Trump through a friend to the New York Times. Why is the special counsel, Robert Mueller, here? According to The Hill and Circa News, in 2009 and 2010, the FBI, through an informant, learned Russian companies seeking to do business in the United States were involved in kickbacks and bribes. Yet, FBI Director Robert Mueller did not inform Congress and did not inform the Committee of Foreign Investment in the United States, the entity responsible for that decision on whether to approve the Uranium One deal. Heard of that before? I'll wager you have. Folks, we're going to continue on this and another few things as well. Don't go away. We're going to hit a break, and we shall be directly back. Thank you.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on SHRmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires, due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network, to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
This is Jersey Joe, host of the Reverb Common Sense, and you're listening to SHRmedia.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is the Bloviating Zeppelin live and direct right here. Moi, one each. One is enough because one of BZ is two of most customary individuals on this planet currently. And this is the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct on the SHR Media, on SHRmedia.com, live and direct every Tuesday, every Thursday, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, and 2973 and 119 seconds in Bolivia. Every Tuesday and Thursday. Bolivia can only get the podcast. So sad, too bad. In any event, I was talking specifically about the article written by two representatives, two members of the House of Representatives, who essentially are saying to AG Jeff Sessions, get your arse in gear, dude. And the last question was, hey, what's the deal with Robert Mueller? Why, for example, did Robert Mueller not inform the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, the entity responsible for the decision on whether to approve the Uranium One deal? He didn't inform Congress, and he didn't inform the CFI-US. When he learned Russian companies are seeking to do business in the United States involved in kickbacks and bribes in Uranium One. What's up with that? But most importantly, Finally, why won't Attorney General Jeff Sessions, the person with the visibility and responsibility to answer these questions, do his job? On July 27, 2017, 20 House Republican members of the Judiciary Committee sent a letter to the Attorney General calling for a special counsel to get answers to the above questions. On September 28, 2017, 5 House Republican members of the Judiciary Committee met with the Attorney General and Justice Department staff to inquire about the July letter. The Justice Department's response? Silence. Crickets. Free deed. Free deed. It's time, they say, for Jeff Sessions to name a special counsel and get answers for the American people. If not, he should step down. I have to agree.
A top Republican lawmaker says Attorney General Jeff Sessions should create a new special counsel to investigate actions by Democrats during the campaign and the Obama years. In a new op-ed, 2 congressmen writing, quote, "Do your job or step down." One of those lawmakers is Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan. He's on the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee and joins us now. Congressman, thank you for being here this morning. It's a big piece, and you ask a lot of very important questions. You're saying, Mr. Attorney General, it's time to do your job. What is he not doing right?
And the other question that I asked is, why does it take these 2 guys not in positions of leadership, air quotes, leadership, in the GOP, and no leadership on this and any number, a host of other important, vitally important issues to the GOP? Why does it take these 2 guys to do this? Where's Ryan? Where's McConnell doing their job? Their job.
Not naming a special counsel. 20 Republican members of the Judiciary Committee sent a letter on July 27th calling for a special counsel, outlining the same questions we have in our op-ed today. We met with him then on September 28th, and some of his staff, we brought up the same issue. The response from the Justice Department has frankly just been silence. And it's frankly, the response from the Sessions Justice Department is no different than the response we got on a lot of questions from the Holder and the Lynch Justice Department.
Thank you.
And that is our concern. When you have all these questions, let's appoint a special counsel. We think Mr. Mueller is inherently compromised, so let's appoint a special counsel to get the answers. It's not about Jeff Sessions. It's about getting answers for the American people.
Some of those key questions that you ask in this op-ed is why did Jim Comey call the Clinton investigation a matter and not an investigation? You ask why did he begin drafting that exoneration letter for Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who he called grossly negligent, before completing the investigation? And why did James Comey publicize the Clinton investigation? This is one of a dozen questions you ask in this piece.
Why call it a matter, not an investigation? As we point out in our piece last time I checked, he wasn't director of the Federal Bureau of Matters. It's an investigation. Think about what James Comey did. He misled the American people trying to call the Clinton investigation a matter, and then he also misled the American people when he let the public believe that President Trump was under investigation when, in fact, he wasn't. So he misled the American people twice.
On 3 times. James Comey, the FBI director, former FBI director, I so love saying that, the former FBI director, James Comey, leaked material himself. He himself was a leaker. The exact same thing that he would customarily investigate when he was FBI director. Where's the sanity? And that is the only time that I have ever in my entire career, and I used to work for the FBI. Thank God I never worked for James Comey. I can imagine the abject shame that current agents, line-level agents, must have over the Comey FBI. Thank God he got his arse kicked out by President Trump. What other head of a major law enforcement agency leaked information? That's insane. So wrong, and I believe criminal.
We got this focus from Mr. Mueller on possible Russian collusion with the Trump campaign to influence the election. How about the fact we know the Obama Justice Department tried to influence the election? Loretta Lynch, one day before the Benghazi report comes out, 5 days before Secretary Clinton's to be interviewed by the FBI, she meets with former President Clinton on the tarmac in Phoenix. Yeah. And then when she's corresponding with people in the Justice Department, the public relations staff, she doesn't even use her real name. She uses the name Elizabeth Carlisle. If you're just talking about golf and grandkids, you can probably use your real name. So there's all those issues. not to mention what we've learned in the last few weeks about fusion GPS, about Uranium One. All this cries out for a special counsel. All we're asking Mr. Sessions, a guy I like, a good guy, but all we're asking is appoint a special counsel so American people can get the answer.
So you're saying if he doesn't, he's not doing his job. Who or what do you think is getting in the way of him not doing the right?
Well, I'll tell you, when this audio cut is through, I will tell you exactly what's going on. It's more of BZ's DC axiom, guaranteed.
Thing in your opinion?
I do not know. I do not know why he won't do this. I mean, obviously, with what we've learned, but the reporting of John Solomon, Sarah Carter, about the Uranium One deal, it seems to me Mr. Mueller's got a conflict there. You have to appoint a special counsel. I don't know why he won't do it. I don't know what's holding him back. Maybe this will prompt him to do so. Tomorrow, when he comes in front of the Judiciary Committee, I'm going to ask him about these same kind of issues and these questions. Maybe that'll prompt him to appoint a special counsel.
So let's talk about that. Jeff Sessions will be sitting down separately before the House Judiciary.
And he did that today, by the way. I was watching on TV as that was occurring. He represented himself fairly well, took umbrage just a bit here and there, answered some questions, but he still hasn't answered all that many questions with regards to Jim Jordan.
Judiciary Committee. You sit on that committee. Why are you bringing him back in for more questions?
Well, this is just his annual. I mean, the tradition is once a year, the head of the Justice Department, the head of the FBI come in and take questions from the House Judiciary Committee, much like he did a few weeks ago in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. So it's that time for that appearance. It just so happens we got all these important issues going on right now that I'm sure he'll get asked about all of those.
So safe to assume you'll be asking about all of that.
Well, yes, as well we should. So there's another cut coming up that I'm going to play in a bit after this, but you have to ask yourself, okay, why was it? And Jim Jordan asked a perfectly logical question. Why, Jeff Sessions, have you decided that you're not going to respond to this massive host of questions that most logical thinking human beings would say, what have we got to lose to have someone go into this as a special prosecutor? Now, you may ask yourself, why a special prosecutor? I'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, why is it that Jeff Sessions is not interested and is not hopping on this quick like a bunny to make sure that he does his damn prosecutorial job with regard to all of these things that dovetail together? Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Uranium One, the Clinton Foundation, James Comey, the dossier, et al. All enmeshed in a terribly corrosive and corruptive environment. Why? It's because I posited this for some time. It's BZ's DC axiom. And Judge Napolitano was the first to come out and confirm this for me. The audio isn't here, but you've heard it before. But DZ's BZ, this is not easy to say. BZ's DC axiom goes like this. Why won't they do it? Because it's an institutional culture in the United States government. We don't want to go after our predecessors because we don't want our successors to come after us. Translate that for a second. Ponder that for just a moment. It's because way too many of these people are dirty, have their hands in way too many pies, and don't want to have their own zippers moved down and their genitalia exposed, male or female. That's absolutely immaterial. People have crap on you, and they hold back because they don't want to have their own personal crap exposed. Jeff Sessions. So here, from the Washington Post. Oh, by the way, yeah, I said I was going to talk about, hey, why? Well, let me ask you the question. Why would we need a special prosecutor or special counsel to delve into this situation? Shouldn't it be, logically so, that the Justice Department should simply be able to do its job? Wouldn't that customarily fall under the aegis of the Justice Department itself? Well, wait, whoa, hold up on that car wash, too. Why did we need a special counsel or a special prosecutor by Robert Mueller? Was it because people didn't have trust in the Justice Department? Okay, ask the next question. Why a special prosecutor or a special counsel now, BZ? Because I have been consistently disabused of trust in my government. The Justice Department, the DOJ, has abused my trust. The FBI has abused my trust. The alphabet agencies have abused my trust. So in my opinion, that's why a special prosecutor or special counsel is required. And let's give that individual, whomever is tagged so, the same powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men, just like Robert Mueller, to go after any damn thing they want. Just as is Robert Mueller right now. So this article from the WashingtonPost.com. Sessions considering second special counsel to investigate Republican concerns, letter shows. Oh, wait, is he reconsidering? And the answer is perhaps. Attorney General Jeff Sessions is entertaining the idea of appointing a second special counsel to investigate a host of Republican concerns, including alleged wrongdoing by the Clinton Foundation and the controversial sale of a uranium company to Russia, and has directed senior federal prosecutors to explore at least some of the matters and report back to him and his top deputy, according to a letter obtained by the Washington Post itself. The revelation comes in a response by the Justice Department to an inquiry from House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte, who in July and again in September called for Sessions to appoint a second special counsel to investigate concerns he had related to the 2016 election and its aftermath. Really? No pressure from Jordan and or Gates factored? I would say that's wrong. The list of matters he wanted probed was wide-ranging, but included the FBI's handling of the investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server while she was Secretary of State, various dealings of the Clinton Foundation, and several matters connected to the purchase of the Canadian mining company Uranium One by Russia's Nuclear Energy Agency. Goodlatte took the particular aim at former Director FBI James Comey, asking for a second special counsel to evaluate the leaks he directed about his conversations with President Trump, among other things. In response, Assistant AG Stephen Boyd wrote that Sessions had directed senior federal prosecutors to evaluate certain issues raised in your letters, and that those prosecutors would report directly to the AG and Deputy AG as appropriate, and will make recommendations as to whether any matters not currently under investigation should be opened, whether any matters currently under investigation require further resources, or whether any matters merit the appointment of a special counsel. One of the major questions is, why did the intelligence community in the final months of the Obama administration unmask names at an unprecedented and record rate? Laura Ingraham, on her show, The Ingraham Angle, spoke to those two representatives, and I suggest that you listen closely to what they have to say and also her questions regarding this particular matter. And it is a matter.
Let's get right to our top story. Breaking news out of the Department of Justice about a possible special counsel investigation targeting Hillary Clinton. In a letter obtained by Fox News, we've learned that Attorney General Jeff Sessions is directing prosecutors to take a closer look at the 2010 sale of Uranium One to a Russian-backed company and the Clinton Foundation's alleged unlawful involvement in it. Clinton's alleged donations to the Clinton Foundation amounted to a quid pro quo for Hillary's State Department to sign.
No, that wouldn't be. No. Yeah, the Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton Foundation took quid pro quo cash from just about anybody. It doesn't matter whether they were a dictator, Middle East, doesn't matter the continent. They were absolutely on it in terms of quid pro quo donations. And then you have to ask yourself one major question. Now that this is all occurring, why are the donations to the Clinton Foundation at an absolute standstill now? Answer: because there is no pro quo in the quid. In other words, what influence does Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton have on anything that can be done in the United States government? And the answer is now nothing.
Sign off on the transaction, which gave Russia control of about 20% of America's uranium capacity. And according to a letter from DOJ to the House Judiciary Committee, the Attorney General is open now to the possibility of appointing a special counsel to look into the matter and other matters related to the Clintons. And news comes ahead of Mr. Sessions' highly anticipated testimony tomorrow before the House Judiciary Committee. Joining us now exclusively for a reaction are two House Republicans who want a special counsel to investigate Mrs. Clinton, Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio and Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. You guys wrote an op-ed, and you asked Jeff
Which
Sessions
I read to you.
To move forward on a special counsel. Congressman Jordan?
Yeah.
Well, no. Are they listening?
Yeah, well, they're definitely listening. You talk about the headline tonight in the Washington Post. Sessions considers appointing his second special counsel. We sent a letter on July 27th outlining why we think it's warranted. We met with Attorney General Sessions and Justice Department staff on September 28th. So far, we've got nothing, but it's amazing. Today, we do an op-ed, and suddenly the Department of Justice has had a come-to-Jesus moment, and now there's going to be a special counsel, or at least they're talking about a special counsel. That's exactly what has to happen when you think about how the things we have learned and how serious they are. The American people want answers. We want to give them those answers. We think a special counsel is the way to go.
Now, Congressman Gaetz, let's go through the many issues, the myriad issues. We have the Clinton Foundation. We have Uranium One. We have the way Comey handled a potential indictment, announcing the investigation, then announcing there would be no indictment. His process for going about this investigation, not being present at important interviews, immunity deals struck with people like Cheryl Mills.
Yep. We'll stop right there just for a second. Immunity deals. When you grant immunity in the federal system to somebody, it's because you want something in return. Just like President Obama, what did we receive in return for these grantings of immunity that I can suss out? Not a damn thing.
What among those many things, and again, our viewers, heads are swirling, what are the most concerning elements of those, given what you both know already about this?
So many of these scandals link back to the Clinton Foundation. And
thank you. This is Matt Gaetz, by the way.
And people are tired of this double standard where there's one set of rules for the Clintons and another set of rules for everyone else.
Thank you.
Now, we're 6 months into this investigation of President Trump and his team in Russia. They found nothing. But look at the treasure trove of information that continues to be found out about the Clinton Foundation functioning essentially as a money laundering operation for the Uranium One deal. And that really ought to concern us. Our uranium assets are precious. We're an importer of uranium. It's crazy to give Russia this access to our uranium assets, but you had the very people that are now investigating President Trump involved in approving this deal and then silencing the witness who was ready to tell us that bribes and kickbacks were contributing to undermining America's interests.
That doesn't stink at all, though, does it? Let me tell you just a little weeny detail that you might not know about Uranium One. Yes, they got 20% interest in American uranium. Now, a lot of people are saying, American uranium, that doesn't make any difference. We didn't give them anything. Number one, bullshit. Yes, we did. And then number two, where's the number one producer of uranium in the world? What country is that? Kazakhstan. And under whose influence is that country? Russia. Does this not look to you anything similar to an abject takeover, an absolute takeover of as much uranium as possible on the planet? Because he or she who controls the uranium controls the future of anything nuclear. Period. End of statement. Just a little teeny-weeny critical aspect to that.
Crazy. We need a special counsel to go after the Clinton Foundation. And Robert Mueller and Rod Rosenstein are way too conflicted to proceed against the president.
Now, Rosenstein would have to call for the special counsel, correct? Is that right?
I'm not sure of that. We don't know the answer to that, but when we sent our letter, we sent it to both Attorney General Sessions and to Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. So we'll see. This
goes back to Sessions recusing himself from anything related to
We don't know how far that goes. What we do know is stuff you brought up, Laura. James Comey called the Clinton investigation a matter, not an investigation. James Comey began drafting in his own...
Well, we know the litany, the absolute litany of things that I spoke about that Jim Jordan is talking about right now, and Mr. Gates, both the representatives. So things may be changing now on many fronts. And this all, I should remind everyone, this stems specifically from the incessant bleat of Democrats themselves, leftists, and the American media maggots, of this constant Trump-Russia thingy. Okay, so leftists, Democrats, and the American media maggots are getting what they want now. Investigations, right? The problem is that these investigations are pointing mostly back to the Democrats themselves and not the Republicans. That, folks, is called Schadenfreude. Look it up. Schadenfreude. It's a German word. Heavy drinking, backslapping, all around. In conclusion, this other thing from an article of all places from theatlantic.com indicating that the reign of Bill and Hill may in fact be over, perhaps to even include indictments on a criminal level. This article titled, Bill Clinton, A Reckoning. Feminists saved the 42nd president of the United States in the 1990s. They were on the wrong side of history. Is it finally time to make things right? The most remarkable thing about the current tide of sexual assault and harassment accusations is not their number. If every woman in America started talking about the things that happened during the course of an ordinary female life, it would never end. Nor is it the power of the men involved. History instructs us that for countless men, the ability to possess women sexually is not a spoil of power. It's the point of power. What's remarkable is that these women are being believed. But then Bubba came along and blew up all the tracks. Let us not forget that it was the sex crimes of which the younger, stronger Bill Clinton was very credibly accused of in the 1990s. Juanita Broderick reported that when she was a volunteer on one of his gubernatorial campaigns, she had arranged to meet him in a hotel coffee shop at the last minute. He had changed the location to her room in the hotel where she says he very violently raped her. She said she fought against Clinton throughout, a rape that left her bloodied. At a different Arkansas hotel, he caught sight of a minor state employee named Paula Jones, and Jones says he sent a couple of state troopers to invite her to his suite, where he exposed his penis to her and told her to kiss it. Kathleen Willey said that she met him in the Oval Office for personal and professional advice and that he groped her, rubbed his erect penis on her, and pushed her hand to his crotch. And, of course, Monica Lewinsky. This is obviously heretical writing. That the Atlantic would publish something like this is heresy. For leftists, it's heresy unrestrained on the part of any leftist. So when any leftist organ like The Atlantic posts and writes an article like this, you know that things are not playing out very well for you. Folks, that's about it for the show. Sackheads Radio is on tomorrow night, and then Thursday I've got another very detailed show coming up. And so I have to say goodbye and...
Monsieur has unlocked!
We'll meet again.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I want to thank you very much for listening to me, the Bloviating Zeppelin, in the Berserk Bobcat Saloon, right here on the SHR Media Network at shrmedia.com. You want to contact me, you can find me at bzep on Twitter. My email is bz@shrmedia.com, and my wondrous blog, bloviatingzeppelin.net. Promotions and considerations are by Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, and also by the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And
Please say hello to the folks.
Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be personally consorting in less than the hour before the top of the hour. Thanks to you for listening. Thanks for listening in podcast. Thanks for interacting in chat, listening live, YouTube, and also on the SHR Media Facebook page, on Spreaker. God bless. Take care. Sackheads tomorrow night. Be safe. God bless.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.